Tropical Biology and Conservation in Ecuador is a 6-credit study abroad course at Virginia Tech, taught by myself, Dr. Ignacio Moore from the Department of Biological Sciences, and Dr. William Hopkins from the Department of Fish and Wildlife Conservation. In 2018, 11 undergraduate students spent the spring semester learning in the classroom, followed by a 3-week study abroad trip to Ecuador during the summer. Along with several local guides, we led the students' explorations to one of the most biodiverse countries in the world. We traversed multiple ecosystems, from the Amazonian lowland rainforest to the high-altitude Andes, and met with local indigenous peoples to learn about conservation challenges in the region. The following stories and photographs capture just a few of the students' experiences during their epic adventure in Ecuador.
Sensory Overload by Terrence Smith, Biological Sciences major. Being in the jungle gives you a whole new appreciation for your senses. The sights, smells, sounds, and feel of the jungle are an all-encompassing experience. The smell of the jungle can range from the sweet smell of fruits to the stink of a monkey pack above. One of the most important senses in the jungle is hearing. Our guide Rudy described it as, if you rely on sight alone to find animals in the jungle, you're lost. The animals are so evolved that they're next to impossible to spot. Often, as we're walking down the trails, we will stop abruptly and listen to the sounds of the forest. Sounds of rain on leaves, bugs chirping, several bird songs, or even a monkey troop in the distance. Lastly, touch is another important sense of being in the jungle. The trails are often very muddy and slippery. Being able to feel if your footing is stable is very important if you don't want to take a spill. The guides often hand us leaves to feel when they talk about classification. We feel for the waxiness of the cuticle or how flimsy and flexible they are. To be successful in the jungle, using your senses to their full capacity is essential. The Waorani are a great example of this. From a young age, the Waorani are taught how to use their senses to best survive in the jungle.
Sapo by Dominic Latona, Biological Sciences major. We were walking through the lowland rainforest of Ecuador's Yasuni National Park. Our guide, Ramon, wielded his machete and was constantly clearing the brush in front of us. Suddenly he stopped. I was wondering, what could he be up to? He looked at the ground beside the trail intently. He then knelt down and slowly picked leaves away from an area about the size of my palm. He looked up at me and said, "Sapo." At that time, I had no idea what sapo meant. He repeated himself, pointing at the small area, "Sapo." I studied the small area. I could see nothing. I then knelt down and squinted my eyes. I saw a small leaf with a white petiole. I looked at this area for 20 seconds or more, and then all of a sudden I realized that it was a frog. It was a spectacularly camouflaged frog. Dark brown with black spots adorning its back, along with a white stripe right down the middle. I couldn't believe it. Ramon laughed and laughed until he was out of breath. I now know that frogs in the rainforest are incredibly hard to see, and that sapo means frog in Spanish.
Trying New Foods by Leah Purdue, Biological Sciences major. One of my favorite experiences of traveling abroad is trying new foods. Ecuador is a Latin American country, and staples such as plantains, rice, and beans are common in meals. Another big staple for Ecuador is yuca, which is one of my new favorite foods. 3-course meals are common here and typically start with a soup and end with a dessert. The desserts are usually fruit-based. Tree tomato is a fruit commonly used in desserts. Breakfast normally comes with fruit as well as fruit juice. The fruit juices here are exotic compared to what we drink in the USA. Some of my favorite are blackberry juice, pineapple juice, and passion fruit juice. Another popular Ecuadorian drink I got to try is an oat-based drink called Quaker, or Quaker in English, that consists of oats blended with milk. Unlike the USA, the main meal in Ecuador is lunch rather than dinner. It's the biggest meal and the most important for making plans. My personal favorite food from Ecuador is the bananas. I found them to be much more flavorful in Ecuador than in the US. Bananas with chocolate sauce was definitely the best combination that I tried while in Ecuador.
Mountains by Terrence Smith, Biological Sciences major. I miss the mountains. Sharapuna was an amazing experience, but it was located in the Amazon River Basin. I wanted to be in the mountains. The bus ride into San Isidro weaved its way up the side of the mountains. Around each turn, the views would keep getting better and better. As we neared our destination, the sunset framed the peaks in a way that makes you question if it's real. There's no way this is real. Views like this only occur through green screen edits in movies. But there I was, awestruck and happy to be in the mountains. The sky was light pink as we arrived in San Isidro. The mountain crests met and were dotted with small clumps of clouds. Below the mountain was a slope down into a valley with a salt lick lake cupping the lowest elevation. Gorgeous. The way to the main lodge was a rocky path painted green by the plants that had claimed it over the years. The walls were covered in vibrant green moss, and the trees above created a tunnel of foliage. The lodge was a large building with glass windows and a huge deck. I was giddy with excitement.
The End by Katherine Huckle, biology major. Our trip is coming to a close. On reflection, the trip both flew and dragged by, but doesn't it always? 19 days abroad sounds like a long time, but split between 3 different locations, and with 6 days of travel, made the time spent at every location precious. The time spent at Sharapunu Lodge taught us all patience and how to enjoy our surroundings while still keeping a sharp lookout for pitfalls and snakes. The time at San Isidro gave me a new appreciation for the horizon, clouds, and mountains. The time spent at Papayacta gave me a new appreciation for my healthy lungs, but also gave me the shove I needed to make sure I'm physically ready for my next big adventure. I graduate this summer once our final paper is turned in. This trip was a way for me to mark the end of my undergraduate career and the beginning of my next big adventure. Everyone I've talked with about study abroad says it's a trip they'll treasure forever. I finally understand where they're coming from. This trip isn't something I'll forget soon, and I hope that everyone else on the trip feels the same exhaustion, but happy and content way that I do.
Are you intrigued? A new 4-credit course taught by Drs. Moore and Hopkins is scheduled for spring 2019 and open to all majors. Titled Darwin's Galapagos, Evolution in the Anthropocene, the course includes a 10-day study abroad trip to the Galapagos Islands over spring break. Moore and Hopkins are faculty affiliates of the Global Change Center, housed within the Fralin Life Science Institute at Virginia Tech. More insights from their 2018 trip to Ecuador can be found online at www.globalchange.vt.edu and in the fall 2018 edition of the Fralin Explorer magazine.